the changes that we've had in immigration law, because it's been quite a few. You hear about asylum in Mexico, children detained at the border, laws changing and policies changing because an executive order was passed. What about DACA? There has been so much action, and none of it has been good action, really, unless the Supreme Court has stepped in on immigration law, that we've had to pivot and adjust. I mean, we talk about everyone pivoting and adjusting with COVID. We've had to do it since 2018, and we have been doing it because we want to make sure that we bring the best representation that we can, despite what's coming down the pike and towards our clients. And so, not only have we had to keep on top of, the new changes and try to make sure that our clients can still utilize, any form of immigration relief, but we also have to let our volunteer attorneys know what's happening, because one day there could be a processing time that you can get an approval in a year and suddenly it changes to 5 years. And that is because of all of what's going on behind the scenes, in the federal administration for immigration. And some of that is completely beyond our control. And so we've been, going with the changes since 2018, but COVID has brought a more, I would say, really urgent, kind of, response from the immigrant community, because many of our immigrant clients are not able to access unemployment or the stimulus bill, the CARE Act, or any of that. And so we've had to, fundraise for our clients. GAIN has partnered with federal and national organizations to provide housing for clients for 40 families. That's not something as a legal organization we do, but we've had to do it because our clients are literally going to be homeless if we don't. We've worked with a lot of corporations to get laptops for our clients, because we've heard of stories of all our clients and their children doing homework on one cell phone. And so you need to make sure that, we can provide, even beyond legal services to what our clients need right now. And so we've been delving more into the social service areas like, AVLF has as well, and it's so needed because our clients need it right now. But we've also been pivoting with our clients and, also representing them. The representation for a little while when COVID first hit was a little bit lower for our victims of violence. Domestic violence clients were staying indoors. Probably their abuser was in the home with them, so they couldn't reach out for help. But now, I would say starting May, June, we've seen our numbers go back up. Asylum clients are quickly coming through. At any given time, we have about 15 to 20 cases that, new cases coming in that need representation. So the cases are there. The work is so extreme that it's so needed. And we're also pivoting in how we provide these services. We're doing virtual asylum clinics. We're also virtually training folks. We just had a big training at Seyfarth and trained, 30 attorneys, and 15 cases were taken. So we were so excited about that because the need is there. And the clients right now need our advocacy more than any other time, because if we don't advocate for immigrants, they're not able to advocate for themselves because of all these rules and changes and fears that they have of being deported back to a country that has treated them very badly. So I'll end on that note, but thank you. And thank you to the Atlanta Bar. Really, this year has been great for bringing a little bit of a spotlight onto what immigrants go through. So I'm really grateful to Ryan. I'm grateful to you all for listening to, what you've been hearing about in the news. I will stop screen sharing now.
Thank you, Monica. Any questions from anyone for Monica before we move on? All right, seeing none in the chat, I will introduce our next speaker, Meredith Reagans with Georgia Lawyers for the Arts and Georgia Patents. Meredith.
Hey everyone, and thank you, Chris, for inviting me to speak to this group. I am Meredith Reagans with Georgia Lawyers for the Arts, and we are an organization that's been around for 45 years. And our clients are our state's artists and arts organizations, as well as inventors. What we mainly do is we're sort of we're certainly in the IP space. So any of you who are IP lawyers, copyright, trademark, certainly patent lawyers like Chris, we need you. We help our clients with, like I said, copyright, trademarks, patents, but also you actually don't have to be an IP lawyer to help a GLA client. If every one of you can review and revise a contract, negotiate a contract, and almost 45% of our cases are actually contract related. Some of these you may need some industry specific knowledge. So maybe like there's some music agreements that would be helpful if you have a little bit of knowledge about that certain industry. But honestly, I'm not. I was a commercial litigator before I came to GLA, and so you don't have to be an IP lawyer, which is great. There is one aspect of what we do, the Georgia Patents Program, where you do have to be a patent prosecution lawyer, and unfortunately, there are few of those who exist, but they've been so generous to our organization. We represent every type of artist you can imagine, musicians, fine artists, actors, dancers, culinary artists. So we try to be as inclusive as we can be, as we read the term artist very broadly. We also help arts organizations in our state that have a budget under $1 million. So pretty much every arts organization except for those that are at the Woodruff Center, so the High Museum, the Alliance, the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra, the Atlanta Ballet. Those are a few that don't qualify, but pretty much every single arts organization in our state takes our qualifies for our cases. And because those are businesses just like we all are, they're corporations, they have any number of issues that would be just like corporate clients. So we have cases that are employment related, board related. We have lease agreements they want reviewed. So again, those really, most of our cases with arts organizations are not intellectual property matters. We are, I'll echo what was said earlier. All of these organizations are outstanding, and there's such a need for pro bono everywhere. But in Atlanta, we have such a great pro bono community. And I would just urge all of you to get involved with one of these organizations. We all have different, whether you're talking about immigration issues or victims of domestic violence, or with us, the people who, a lot of the volunteers who come to us, who work with us, either are intellectual property experts or they're artists in and of themselves. A lot of lawyers were in the theater when they were kids, or were in a band, or were in the high school band, or somebody like me with zero artistic ability, but I love the arts. I love especially the performing arts. And so we find that the people who are attracted to GLA, we know we're a bit of a niche organization, but they really, they have a connection with our clients. And it's a great organization. We do about almost $4 million a year in free pro bono legal services. And I know we have some other folks who are coming after me, but if this is something you're interested in, giving back to our arts community in our city or in our state, I would love it if you would reach out to me. And like some of the other speakers, I will put my email address in the chat box. So thanks, y'all.
Thanks, Meredith. Before we start running out of time here, if anyone has any questions for Meredith, please send me a chat. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to our next speaker, Megan Hurley with Georgia Innocence Project. Megan, I'll turn it over to you to keep us rolling here and stay on time to some degree. I think we still have plenty of time for the last three speakers, so I'll turn it to you.
Thank you so much, Chris. Hi, everybody. My name is Megan Hurley, and I work with the Georgia Innocence Project. And I am going to share a PowerPoint with you all. All right. So I am Georgia Innocence Project's Alabama Fellow. I am an attorney licensed to practice in both Georgia and Alabama, although I primarily handle GIP's Alabama cases, which is interesting that I'm the person here speaking with you all today because I handle kind of a niche project that's separate from most of what GIP does, but I have been involved with GIP for about 3 years now. I'm a fairly new lawyer and got the opportunity to work on one of GIP's oldest and most complicated probably cases, and that resulted in our client being freed in May after 43 years in prison for a crime that he did not commit. So I'm very excited to tell you all about my experience with GIP and how you all can get involved as well. So most of you have probably heard of Georgia Innocence Project at some point. But if not, just to quickly orient you, we are an Atlanta-based nonprofit law office, and we do provide direct legal representation to men and women wrongfully convicted of crimes that they did not commit in the state of Georgia. Alabama cases are kind of a different story. We have a few of those, but what we are primarily focused on is our Georgia cases. So GIP's mission is threefold. First and foremost, our goal is to free the imprisoned innocent in Georgia using DNA testing and other methods to actually prove actual innocence. This is one of three prongs of our mission, but it is, of course, our main focus. This is the prong that mostly concerns our lawyers and our investigator. So the vast majority of what we do is dedicated to investigating and litigating cases of wrongful convictions, primarily in state court, but also federal court. So the second prong of our mission is to prevent future wrongful convictions through education and policy reform. GIP was involved in policy advocacy for many years previously, and then we had a big change in leadership a few years ago, but we are slowly getting back into that arena, which is very exciting for us so that we can work to advocate for best practices statutes. We were involved in the passage of a statute in 2015 aimed at eyewitness identification best practices. So that's kind of the nature of the policy work that we're involved in. But community education is a big part of what we do at GIP. We go out into the community, we give lots of presentations, particularly at public schools in and around Atlanta. And we do this mostly on October the 2nd of every year, which is International Wrongful Conviction Day. And our goal is to educate people about how wrongful conviction cases happen so that we can collectively work together to prevent future wrongful convictions in our state and in our community and elsewhere. And then finally, but certainly not least, the third prong of our mission is to connect our exonerees or our freed clients with resources to help them rebuild their lives. As we, I'm sure, can all imagine, reentry is a difficult process for anyone who's trying to transition from prison back into free society. But that process is particularly difficult when these men and women have spent, in the case of our exonerees, often decades in prison, and in prison for something that they did not in fact do. So at GIP, we try to do everything that we can to help these people transition back into the free world, assist them with whatever their needs may be, from, you know, housing, helping them get jobs, you know, so on and so forth. So we do a lot. We do a pretty good variety of things at GIP, but we actually have a pretty small staff size. I think there are about 13 of us that are full-time staff at GIP, and we only actually have 4 attorneys, including our executive director. So we rely very, very heavily on pro bono partnerships, and the work that we do simply would not be possible without those partnerships. And here in a minute, I'm going to tell you a few ways that you all can get involved in the work that we do. Just a little bit more background on GIP as an organization. This is our GIP by the numbers breakdown, but we have been around since about 2002. And in that amount of time, we've had about 7,500 applications for assistance. So we don't actually go out into communities or prisons to solicit our clients. These innocent men and women write to GIP from prison seeking our assistance. And then they go through a screening process to determine if they're the type of case that we can assist with. And as you see on this slide, about 95% of the people who write to us have their cases rejected at that initial screening process. Now, that's not because 95% of the people who write to us are guilty of these offenses. It's just that given our very small staff size and our very limited resources, we have a very stringent case acceptance criteria. In the time that GIP has been around, I know this slide says that we've had 9 freed clients. I am excited to share that as of about 3 hours ago, that went to 10 freed clients. We had a client, Dennis Perry, who was released from prison today after serving 20 years for a crime that he did not commit. So it's been a busy and exciting day at GIP, but we're very excited about it. So those 10 clients collectively have spent about 190 years in prison for crimes that they did not commit. And unsurprisingly, 80% of our freed clients are Black men. So race does play a very huge role in wrongful conviction cases, and it's really important that we acknowledge that and work through what that means so that we can prevent these future wrongful convictions. Uh-oh, my cursor has disappeared. Hold on. All right, sorry about that. Just really quickly, this is a look at our case acceptance criteria. This is the criteria by which men and women who write to us have their cases screened to determine if we can help them or not. The crime must have happened in the state of Georgia. Their case has to be in a post-conviction procedural posture, meaning that their conviction has to have been affirmed on direct appeal, or the time in which they could appeal has to have passed. Typically, we require that there be at least 5 years left on their prison sentence. That is because it takes an extraordinary amount of time to reinvestigate these cases from the ground up and figure out procedurally where we have an in court. And crucially, the perpetrator's identity must have been an issue at the time of trial, and we have to believe that there is some new or newly available evidence that we can test or otherwise argue proves this client's innocence before we agree to take a case. So we're one of the few innocence projects that is still primarily focused on DNA testing. And a big reason for that is because, again, we have these limited resources, and in Georgia, we do have a post-conviction DNA testing statute that we utilize for the bulk of our litigation. I'm about to end and wrap up this because I know we're running out of time, but I wanted to share with you all that studies estimate that about 4 to 6% of the prison population in the United States is actually innocent. And 4 to 6% may not sound like a lot of people, but in our state alone, we're talking about between 2,000 and 3,000 innocent men and women who are currently serving sentences in Georgia state prisons. And this does not even account for misdemeanor offenses and people who are not in prison anymore because they're out on probation or parole or some other form of control. So this is a lot of people in our state actually who are being impacted by the problem of wrongful convictions in our society, which means that we at GIP have an awful lot of work to do. And that is where you all come into play. You know, I mentioned a few minutes ago, GIP has a very small staff size. We have 4 attorneys and we have 1 investigator, and then we have other support staff. So in virtually all of our cases, we do have some sort of pro bono partnership, usually co-counseling these cases with us. We work with a big variety of law firms and solo practitioners who assist us with these cases, and we just simply couldn't do the work that we do without those people. So we are always looking for people to partner with us on cases. We train lawyers, we mentor them, we work side by side with them on these cases. And there are a lot of ways that attorneys can actually get involved in the work that we do at GIP. Co-counseling is kind of the most extreme form of pro bono relationship. And of course, we love our volunteer attorneys who co-counsel these cases with us. But if you are, not sure that's something that you're able to do, I mean, let's face it, it's a pretty big time commitment in many cases. There are a whole plethora of other ways to get involved. We often work with attorneys to assist us on discrete research projects, the investigation process, and of course, we always take just volunteer work, people who volunteer their time to help us with scanning and reading through transcripts and so on and so forth. And we also have a pretty robust internship program for law students and college students and sometimes even high schoolers. So there are a lot of ways to get involved with us. And if you have any questions or would like more information from me about how you can get involved with the work that we do at GIP, please feel free to email me. My email address is megan@georgiainnocenceproject.org. It's here on this slide, but also if you go to GIP's website, which is just georgiainnocenceproject.org, you can find my contact information there. And we also have a volunteer tab that you can click on and fill out if you're interested in working with us. So thank you so much, and I will stop sharing my screen now.
All right, thank you, Megan. We're gonna, in the interest of time, move immediately next to Justine Cowan, Pro Bono Partnership. Justine, I think you're on mute.
Okay, there, sorry about that. Couldn't get to the button. So hi there. Well, first of all, Chris, could I just get a little bit of input? It's past 5:30.
Yes.
So I'm gonna try for like 2 or 3 minutes max.
That's fine. Yes.
So thank you, everybody. I'm wrapping it up, and I know we still have Atlanta Legal Aid that's doing some great work, so we want to get to them as well. So I'm going to go very quickly. So I'm with Pro Bono Partnership of Atlanta, and what we do is we connect volunteer attorneys with Georgia nonprofits that need free legal business services. I was actually an executive director of an organization called Green Law, starting in 1997, and I was a client of Pro Bono Partnership of Atlanta because being an executive director and running a nonprofit organization is very challenging. You're basically running a business because you have a passion for something, but you really need legal help, which, as we all know, can be expensive. So our clients are the ones that are actually running the nonprofit organizations that are improving the lives of the homeless population. They work on domestic violence, at-risk youth. For example, Second Helpings is one of our clients. They rescue an average of 100,000 pounds of surplus food every week every 22 days, and deliver thousands of prepared meals. It keeps food out of landfills and instead feeds our community. Helping Heroes, which helps veterans get jobs. Habitat for Humanity chapters, and the list really goes on. And so what we do is we match up corporate attorneys, and they use their skills to do revising articles of incorporation, employment manuals, reviewing leases, helping with trademarks, real estate. If it is a transactional matter, we do it. And during the COVID crisis, we sent out 28 newsletter and articles and news alerts about PPP loans, the CARES Act, opening the workplace safely, what happens if your contract gets canceled, 16 webcasts we had about 250 issues that we dealt with. Since our launch in 2005, we've assisted over almost 900 nonprofit organizations with over 7,500 different legal matters. And so we have 5 attorneys on staff, and the way that we're able to really help that many nonprofits is because of our volunteer attorneys, and we make it very easy. So what happens is we have something called our volunteer opportunities that we list on our website. All of these projects are little bite-sized pieces that are about 10 to 15 hours, some more, some less. And you look at it and it'll list the client, their mission, and the project. So for example, it might say revising an employment manual for Habitat for Humanity. And you can choose that project. And then what we do is we set up the first call for you. We do the retainer agreement for you. We have malpractice insurance for you. And then we set up that first call, and we even provide you with forms such as a draft employment manual, that type of thing. And so we make it as easy as possible. And if you're interested in doing that, I will put in the chat to visit our website at PBPATL, so it's Pro Bono Partnership ATL.org, or you can email us at volunteer@pbpatl.org to sign up to get onto our list that goes out once or twice a month that has our volunteer opportunities. But again, you can just go on our website anytime you like, look to see what kind of volunteer opportunities we have, pick one, email us and say, I'm really interested in this, and then we will walk you through the entire process. So, and in the interest of time, just let me know if you have any questions. And thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Justine. Any questions from anyone? All right, hearing none, we will move to our last guest today, Carrie Hipp with Atlanta Legal Aid, which Justine referred to as coming next. Carrie, take it away, and don't feel the need to rush. If you have good, important content to share, please do. I know folks are interested.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share this PowerPoint. I'm not going to go through it in detail though, because it's fine and we can send it to you afterwards. So just first, in case you don't know about our organization, we have about 75 or so staff attorneys and a lot of other staff members who deliver direct legal services to low-income clients in a lot of areas of civil law. We don't do any criminal. And largely we work in the metro counties of Atlanta. So that's Cobb, Gwinnett, Fulton, DeKalb, and Clayton. Though we also have a senior hotline, for instance, that is statewide. And generally, these are some of the areas that we practice. It's the things that you might imagine people need an attorney for when they cannot afford an attorney in the civil areas of law. And I'll move on and talk about what we're looking at for COVID-19 specifically. But this is also from our annual report, which is just a summary of our economic impact on these counties, as well as the money that we have earned for clients. And the way that we calculate that is oftentimes like if we fought for a client's housing, we can adjust how much the value of that might be. Okay, and so when COVID-19 hit, one of the big things that we wanted to look at is like, what do our clients need? So we immediately started with a public information campaign. So you can see it directed to it on our website at atlantalegalaid.org. We've got a YouTube channel. We've got a Facebook page. We've been doing Facebook Lives. I also have been doing, we've been doing Facebook Lives through Zoom, which is a great tool. I highly recommend it. And we've also been adding additional information on georgialegalaid.org. So if you talk to people who have some general questions about like public benefits or other COVID-19 related issues, I recommend that you direct them to georgialegalaid.org or some of our short videos on our YouTube, but they are connected. We've also started a new pro bono project. It's both with pro bono volunteers and with some of our staff, calling clients and just asking them about a lot of different public benefits. And we've been planning ahead for increased client needs. And we also have a new website called Georgia Legal Connect that we're still like in the rolling out process that will allow us to use data to connect with our clients over video. So they can do it on their phones. They can do it if they're out somewhere. We're trying to meet them where they are. They don't need to download a new app. We're really excited about it. And we're still kind of in the rolling out stages of that. But we envision that volunteers will be able to use that with clients. Okay. So just to highlight what our pro bono efforts are focused on right now, it's the areas that we consider of high need right now for our clients. So I just separated them into 4 categories. Safety, so we as ever are still doing a lot of different work for victims of violence, including temporary protective order projects in all of the counties other than Fulton. ABLF is like in the courthouse, they got Fulton covered. We still work in all of the other counties on TPOs. And then we continue to do domestic violence, divorces and things of that nature. Also income maintenance issues. So I classify the COVID-19 Public Benefits Project under that, which is really just calling clients, talking them through how to do that and helping them kind of step by step through the processes. We've also been ramping up our unemployment benefits project. Right now, we've got attorneys providing some just legal advice. We started with a group of artists, so local artists in Atlanta who just had some like public benefits questions and a lot of unemployment questions. So we've been helping them with those, and then we will anticipate that we will need some attorneys to do those telephone hearings when there start being more appeals. Housing stability, of course, all of the organizations that do housing work right now are very, very worried about the number of cases we're likely going to have in all of our counties. And so we are ramping up that work. We're hiring some contract attorneys even to make sure that we can do what we can to meet that need. I also have run an ongoing Fulton County tax appeal project. It's an area that I think is kind of fun. We suspect that will only have remote hearings. And if you want to know more about any of these, let me know. And we continue to have an estate planning project. And we've been adapting. So we've been doing resources to complete remote execution or guide the clients in executing with their neighbors. I'm likely going to arrange for clients to come to the outside of our office, one by appointment to execute. So, you know, we're figuring it out. And then I just made this little visual with a few of our other projects that are ongoing. So just a summary on what we ask volunteers to do. We really have a good variety of things. I think a good summary is over the phone advice, representation and negotiation and mediation, and then representation in hearings. Normally, of course, they'd be in person, but I'm trying to be, we understand if a volunteer does not feel comfortable going somewhere in person right now, and we do not want our volunteers doing something they're uncomfortable with. So I'm really making that a high priority when I'm talking about matching a volunteer with a project. And then what we provide: training, forms, malpractice insurance through our malpractice insurance, expertise in the different legal areas. And I think we try to offer really convenient ways to get involved. And then this is just a short summary of the impact that we've noticed volunteers make. You can see that we counted $2.4 million in outcomes obtained by volunteers last year. And then I just direct you to our legal aid website, legalaidprobono.org. It really summarizes a bunch of different projects. We put in the cases category, we put some one-off cases. So If you have a specialized area and every now and then we might need someone like that, you can check there or contact me directly. I wanted to do a short shout out. On August 20th from 5 to 7, we're doing a remote version of our Cocktails and Connections event, which means you'll get cocktails ahead of time, and then we will put people into Zoom rooms to connect with others. So we're still going to be prioritizing both the cocktails, but also the connections to make sure that you get the kind of networking that you really want from an event like this. And that's it. That's my email address. I'm always happy to chat with people, me or my staff attorney, Lori Anderson, to see what might suit you, what you might like. So feel free to reach out. Thanks.
Thanks, Carrie. Thank you to all the panelists and all the attendees. Does anyone in the attendee list have any questions for any of the panelists at this point? If not, I'm going to wrap up and close. All right, hearing and seeing none, I want to again thank our panelists. Everyone was fantastic sharing about your organizations. I think a common theme for everyone who attended today is that not only is this a very close-knit and collaborative community of pro bono partnerships throughout Atlanta and with the Atlanta Bar, but also there's many opportunities and new opportunities going on now, even in the current climate that we're in and the remote environment. So I hope everyone found this useful, and I hope many of you who attended will be reaching out to volunteer. Thank you, everyone.